We're Hardcore Wrestling Radio. In HWR, we may not drop a lot of pipe bombs, but we sure as hell drop a lot of F-bombs. So don't say you weren't warned.
Welcome, HWR fans of all. This is Hardcore Wrestling Radio's Wednesday show for November 13th, 2013. This is your boy, Will, the MVP of the Bay. And, of course, I'm here with my two other members of the three-man band. Don't think that way, because we are not like them. First off, we have our friend from YouTube.com. He is the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, how we doing tonight?
This is going to be interesting.
Yes, it will. And, of course, our good friend from CWA Classic Wrestling Association, he is Mr. Joseph Knight. Joseph, thank you for joining us again on HWR.
Anytime. You say we're like 3MB, you mean we're like 3 marks in a basement? Yeah. I appreciate every time I'm drawing on this show, and I'm sure all the fans wish I wasn't, but hey.
All right, and we're going to open up with Mr. Knight. He has a little update for us about TNA and Mr. Billy Corgan.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much this is what's going on. There's been some rumors going around, and there was some actual facts being presented. Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkin is apparently bought TNA. Now, this is all hearsay. This is rumor. Because as soon as the story broke out, TNA denied it, and they quickly put you could say a gag order on it. So everything quickly got shut down. TNA owner, Panda Energy, Janice Carter said it was false. This is not true. They're keeping it on the reps. From the Billy Corgan camp, they're saying, wow, Billy Corgan loves wrestling. He already runs an independent wrestling promotion called Resistance Pro out in Chicago. So what we're looking at is something this big for it to be just stuffed under there. I think we need to call Jesse Ventura because this is a conspiracy theory. Personally, I think it probably slipped out before they really meant to bring it out. Is this good or bad for TNA? My personal opinion, Billy Corgan is a wrestler. And as a wrestler, not a wrestler, as a wrestling fan, thank you. As a wrestling fan, Billy Corgan is running a company, and no wrestling fan should be running a company. They need someone in there that knows professional wrestling, that knows how to book shows, that know how to do storylines properly in TV formats. I said this once, and I said it many times, fans. What TNA needs, it's Eric Bischoff. And I know people are going, boo, and your hate mails are going to come in. Make sure you send them to the Shining Star Rick Starr, because I won't answer them. Pretty much they need someone with history. Billy Corgan, he was in ECW. He was doing skits with them. But at this point in time, TNA needs something more substantial. They need someone that really knows the business. And unfortunately, Billy Corgan is not it. Will, I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you think about this situation? Again, it's not substantial. It's just rumors, and it was quickly squashed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I read this article, too, I mean, I got no other choice but to agree with you on this one. You're choking because what you said, send all of them to the Shining Star Rick Star. I'm sorry, that just makes for good laughter and ratings. But no, I think they're better off, though. I mean, if you have Corgan buying and Eric Bischoff doing all the talent, creative work with, I think this would work. I mean, what has Dixie Carter and her mother, Janice Carter, really done? I mean, what can we do about it? Just sit back and watch. But no, I mean, I hate talking about this, but, it's something that, TNA needs to go to the future with something. They really need to go with something. And if it takes Corgan and Bischoff to save TNA and the Carters can go away, get their bravados and get out, then that's fine. But I mean, you stated all that. I would want TNA to go forward. I really do. I know we're gonna get IWC marks talking about what are you guys talking about? Have you seen the show? Yeah, hello, we've seen the shows, but the ratings are not working. People, it's just not there. I mean, if you want a product that's going to work, you have to go about it by three standards: financially, talent-wise, and how well you can appeal to the fans. If you don't have one, two, or three, or all, you are about done. That's just how I see it. I don't know. Lance, I'll just pick it to you. I'm done with this.
Well, well, well. The way I see it, Billy Corgan would probably bring in some knowledgeable people since he's already running Resistance Pro anyway. He'd probably bring in somebody like a Bischoff or Cornette or whoever, but somebody that is bit smart in this business. Not smart like smart marks, but somebody who actually knows what the hell they're doing. And then, yeah, because Dixie don't know her ass from a hole in the ground. Man, that's all I gotta say about that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And the way he said, well, somehow, somewhere, may he rest in peace. I kept hearing Hawk saying, well. So, yeah, you brought back some good memories there, Lance.
What a rush.
God, TNA, and, when are they ever going to go completely... When are they going to become like a legit group, When are they going to be, get their act straight?
When they're
That's
done
the
being
real
Dixie's
question.
pet project. If they're not completely out of business. Simple as that.
Joe, I want to chime in about one more thing when you guys both combined that little Hawk parody. Here's the thing. I just hope, and I'm going to say this as much with positivity as much as I can, Dixie and Janice Carter. I know you guys don't listen to our podcast or our shows. That's fine. You got your faces so much in money right now, we don't care. But I'm going to say so much in a positive thing that I'm not going to ruin Mr. Knight's reputation. Get out of the business. I am sorry. Your ratings are more flappable than entertainment television. I think Corgan and Bischoff can make this work. At least it won't not be sinking down faster than the Titanic. And usually I don't like to be this mean on Hardcore Wrestling Radio, but as the Shiny Star would say, we don't drop a lot of pipe bombs, but F-bombs, yeah. So I'm going to say it like this. If Corgan did buy TNA, good for him. If Bischoff wants to join ship, even better. But to you Carter ladies, no offense, just get out the business. WWE has you outshined. This is not boding well for you. Us as fans, promoters, and all around the world, we're reading about this, but there's no positive results coming out of it. I mean, if you don't want to be in it no more, leave. Why waste other people's time when there could be somebody else that can make that product and business work better?
I'm fixing to go Southern Kiss of Death on the Dixie and Janice Carter. Ladies, bless your heart.
And the thing is, it's they're to this point right now that it's a matter of pride because, let's face it, here's Dixie. You got to give her some props. Here's a woman that jumped into professional wrestling way over her head. She got into the business and outright challenged Vince McMahon. Now, there hasn't been, at least to my recognition, any other woman promoter, company owner that has done that. So for that, Dixie Carter has, she stood by herself. She proved that, hey, I'm a woman. I want to show that I can run a company just as well as Vince can. Unfortunately, it didn't show that way, and it didn't happen. But she tried. There's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I tried, it didn't happen, let's move on. all they've been doing for the past couple of years is sinking the company. And I said this before, and I said it again many times on this radio show, is they have such good talent. Bobby Roode, Bad Influence, AJ Styles, and so forth and so forth. They have so much good talent. And what are they doing with it? Absolutely nothing. Look at it like this: when they had what was it? House of Hardcore 3. They had a promotion. Tommy Dreamer ran a promotion, ran a show, an event. The main event, pretty much turned out to be an ECW reunion. Here was Devon Dudley, who was the last TV champion from TNA, and here is Bubba Ray Dudley, or Bully Ray. They both show up to this independent show, and they got more press in that than they did for TNA. And that it took TNA to broadcast to show that their people were over at this show. So, when something like this happens, okay, and another company is getting more press than you are, there is something wrong. There is really something wrong, and I believe Dixie needs to call it. Give it to someone. Give it to me, damn it. Let me take it. I'll fix that company. Let me look for loose change. I think I gotta go here. Will, let me shoot it back to you while I look for some change here.
I think we're done with this topic. So while you find that change, we're gonna go to one of my topics, and we're gonna talk about CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Yes. Now, as we know, last couple weeks they've been pushed out of big matches, and now they are the low pound guys as much as we like to speak of it. Now they're going up against the Wyatt family now. Consists of Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan. And as I know it, Vince has this thing called pushing the low guys out the way and going with this little thing called larger than life. And we're not talking about his you-know-what, because he said it on a Raw a long time ago, and we ain't gonna freak none of our fans out. So, Lance, I'm going to go to you first. The question is to you. Now that Punk and Bryan are now your guys that are not the heavyweights that Vince would want to have as champions, and they're going up against talent they want to push, where do you see this angle with Punk and Bryan going forward against the Wyatt family?
I see somehow Heyman getting involved as the devil that Bray Wyatt's always talking about. And I would say for Survivor Series, but I don't see that having enough time to build up by then. So, all-out war between the 5 of them, maybe.
Yeah, for me on this one, I think this is where Vince basically dropped the ball. And I don't want to go on a small rant on this, so I'm going to make this as professional as I can, because this is Hardcore Wrestling Radio, even though Rick would probably cuss as much as he can on this, but I'm going to be a little bit nice. When Punk was the champion back in 2011 through for the 400 and some odd days, I didn't see Vince McMahon having a problem with that. When Daniel Bryan was champion, when he was just starting out before the yes, yes, yes and his gimmicks on SmackDown, when he was the World Heavyweight Champion, there wasn't a problem with that. Why now? Going into it 2 years later, and now you're going to push Punk and Bryan into this with Harper and Rowan. Not to take it away from Harper, because Luke Harper has been getting good backstage reactions from the officials in the back. Not much on Eric Rowan. Really not much. But I can say is, if this is just to push the talent that they have now, then I can somewhat understand. But this is CM Punk and Daniel Bryan we're talking about. And whoever writes this stuff needs a few notches knocked in their heads. I mean, I kind of like it, but I don't know about this going forward. I don't know. I just don't think that this would settle well going forward. I don't know. Joe, we'll just take this to you. As Joe was trying to find his change.
I found it. $1.75. There you go. That's for TNA. Oh, wait a minute. We're in a different topic.
Yeah.
Damn. You know, the problem with WWE is that since with so much TV time, they run through people so quick. Okay, they don't last long, and Triple H literally dropped the ball of giving really the Daniel Bryan, letting him run with the title, making him be that severe underdog. You know, and with CM Punk, you know, I like the guy, especially when he was doing the Macho Man tribute. He's another one. He's run his course. So what you're seeing, gentlemen, and all the fans out there, you know, is that they're slowly pushing these guys away to look for larger than life guys. You know, let's face it, they were dealing with small guys. Vince McMahon actually said in an interview that they need to go back to larger than life characters. And that doesn't mean 6'5", 300+ pound workers. They need to build those big people, bring them back. Those big, charismatic, those glitz and glamoury type people that attracts you to watch wrestling. WWE, regardless if it's small, SmackDown or Raw, have been losing fans. Their ratings have been going down, and I think what you're seeing here with Punk and Daniels being hashtagged together as a team, putting them on to fight the Wyatts, to elevate the Wyatts probably, they're looking to do something else. And again, they really lost their way with this, and I blame Triple H on this. So what you're seeing is they literally finish with these two guys. They don't know what else to do with them. Put them to the side, but now they have no one else. So what do you do with that? Lance, what do you think?
Shit. What I would do, bring some new faces up from NXT. Because I know there's probably some people down that they could work with. It's just the same crap, different day. And that's just pretty much about that's about the only option I see coming. Bring some people up from NXT to refresh, get some, quote, new blood in the system.
Well, and again, you know, this is the result of TV time. They're pushing these guys faster than they're supposed to, and what's happening is you're killing your product. You're killing your longevity with these people. So, pretty much, I think we've burned this topic quickly. What do you think? Will, back to you.
I'll end this topic. Here's what I just see. Vince and Triple H have dropped so many opportunities, or balls as they want to say it, not saying it loosely, that you got talent that you can bring up right now that they can benefit from your current roster that you have on the air. The only problem I see is we just had Chris Hero that was just released a couple of days ago. And I would have loved to have seen the Kings of Wrestling reunion with him and Cesaro. I would have loved it. But the thing was, the problem with his release, he wasn't paying any dues. And I guess he didn't want to bulk or beef up the type of wrestling lingo that's been going around. And that's why for his release. I mean, the guy's, 32, 33? And, you know, this is where they really messed up. For all it's worth, I mean, they took a popular indie star like El Generico, and now we have Sami Zayn. He's been well known for what he's done. And I'm going to say this with all convincement, and I don't care what anybody has to say. WWE has been well known for watering their talent. There are great stars from the indies that come into these companies and just lowered their talent to like what 50-55% instead of full potential. They've been
Yeah.
well known for that, and I think in that it's very sickening. But moving on now, gentlemen, it's the Big Show, and he's back in the title hunt. And after the so-called authority storyline and the angle where he was going to throw a lawsuit against the WWE, Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie, now he gets his job back. He gets his title shot with Randy Orton. It has been announced for Survivor Series. And I'm just going to say this short and to the point. I liked Big Show when he was the Giant in WCW. He was more agile. He moves more. And now, gentlemen, what do we get? What do we see with our open eyes? A 7'2", 485-pound guy in a tux waving to fans. His moveset has been lowering, and he's stealing Daniel Bryan's gimmick. And since when does wrestling or wrestlers take it upon themselves to take gimmicks from other people to benefit themselves? I probably have never seen that before. So, I guess I will hand it off to you, Lance. What do you think about Big Show back in the hunt and what's been going on as of late with him?
I enjoy the whole one guy against the authority thing. I like that. But my problem is the actual match. Big Show versus Orton at a pay-per-view. Seems like something we'd see on like mid-card of a Raw or maybe main event. For nowadays, it just doesn't seem like a pay-per-view quality match. Long story short.
All right, Joe, my question to you, same to Lance, but I'm going to add a little bit of spice to your question. Would you have liked to see the Big Show back when he was the Giant, agile, and he knew how to move in the ring? Or do you like the Big Show right now with his Versace suit waving to the fans and he's not really being himself, although he is getting his championship match, but not in the fashion that we think?
You know, this first, I have to take a little quote from Lance here. The one man against the corporation. It kind of smells like Stone Cold Steve Austin has done that before.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a hell yeah. Anyway.
Hell yeah.
But to go into your question, Will, what I would have seen, what I'd love to see for Big Show was let him take out that time that he was gone, lose that weight, build up his body again, and grow the hair long, and come back as the Giant from WCW. Come back as that mean Giant who's going to come in and just, I don't care for nobody, I'm just here for myself, and just beat everybody up and then take the belt. The problem with Big Show today is, it's what you said. He's 7 foot tall, he's 400 plus pounds, he looks like Andre the Giant, and he is just that, a slow, prodding guy who they have nothing better else to do. And again, look at, this is the whole conversation from before. WWE has burned through so much of their talent that this is the best they could dig up with for a title match. Big Show, you know, it's a joke to put the belt on him because he'll lose it to some small guy the next day, like he did to Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, and everybody else, and Cody Rhodes. You know, what's next? He's going to win the WWE title, and Hornswoggle's going to beat him. You know,
Horny's first belt.
Yeah,
Or Horn's world heavyweight belt.
Well, this would be Big Show's first WWE title. But again, still, it's, you know, putting a belt on someone like that makes it unbelievable, because then you got to do so many things to, like, you know, we even had a creative meeting in the CWA, and we talked about this. With so many big guys out there, you know, do we put our world title or our heavyweight championship, our version of it, on a big guy? And if there's not that many contenders, you have small guys trying to knock this guy down. Reality speaking here, you can't do a big guy versus a little guy unless the little guy's packing a gun. So I think it's foolish that they're doing the Big Show in this manner, and if he loses at Survivor Series, it's just going to cement him being the biggest loser. No pun to that TV show that lady runs, but he will be the biggest loser. And I think, they need to come up with something better. And it just goes to show that WWE has no new talent. They're depending on old talent, and it's not going to get them over. This is a match that I'm going to see should open up Survivor Series. It should be in, out, by. Let's move on to something more meaningful, which is I know this. It should be no. It's not the Divas. I know that. Forget that. That's an after break. You know what? While I think about that, Will, let's go back to you.
All right. As Joseph gets his focus together. All right. And my final topic for my side of the show is Wade Barrett has not been seen on WWE in a long time, since he was last seen helping Vince McMahon give Daniel Bryan the corporate makeover. But now we see Wade Barrett now in recent UK house shows on every new site that you can find for wrestling. Now his new gimmick is Bad News Barrett. Bad News sounds like another wrestler we all know, but truthfully, going back to it, he's having some visa issues that prevents him from going back to the States, but has made it with WWE for all the house shows that's around Manchester, Birmingham, all across Europe for right now. But I want him to be back in WWE TV, with this gimmick. And I know Bad News Brown is probably asking himself, who is Bad News Barrett and what has he done to this gimmick? So, Joe, knowing that you have knowledge of more wrestling than I do, I'm going to throw it to you. My only question is, well, actually, there's two. Question one is, with this Bad News Barrett gimmick, do you think this will stick? And two, do you think we'll see him back on WWE TV sooner than we think?
First of all, somewhere I know in Harlem, Bad News Brown Allen is putting on his black gloves again and going to start finding a way to get into WWE arenas to just punch this guy out. This is the Bob Holly syndrome, where if you guys know what I mean is when Bob Holly came into the WWEF, I'm probably going to say F a lot later on.
Just don't say fuck you.
Hey, the boss is back. Lance, put that magazines away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is the boss of HWR. Here he is, that shining star, Rick. Rick, I know you're late, but welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Will. Thanks for covering for me. I appreciate it. But hey, just continue with the conversation. So, back to what you were saying.
Okay, we were talking about Bad News Barrett. Wade Barrett has went through so many gimmicks, and I think, Joe, sorry to cut you off, thanks to the boss. So you were saying about Bad News Brown Allen has a black glove. I'm sorry.
And ladies and gentlemen, the only reason Rick is late is because I set him up on a date with Lady Tappa, and he probably saw and ran here quickly. Next,
I saw her naked, then I ran here quickly.
On the next show, we'll send Billy we'll send Lady Tappa to Billy's house. But with, like I was saying before, he's suffering the Bob Holly syndrome. When Bob Holly came to the WWEF, he was basically Sparky Plug, and then they called him Spark Plug Thurman, and then they called him, what was it? He was one half of Jim Cornette's New Midnight Express, and then he finally came back as Hardcore Holly. What you're seeing with Wade Barrett is they're doing the same thing. Okay, we tried this gimmick with Nexus. Okay, it worked for a little while until CM Punk derailed that. Then they tried it with something else. Then that derailed, and
sorry, Joseph, that was called The Core, the other group, just in case.
Oh, the core? Okay. So I stand corrected. Pretty much you see him again being rehashed. Bad news, Barrett. I think they could have done better. Personally, my opinion, they should have hooked him up with William Regal. Let William Regal train him, like saying, "You're from England's dungeon, and you're gonna be my new English ambassador," and have him do that because he's not a bad worker. It's just the gimmicks, and I said this throughout the show so far. WWE has no idea what else to do with his talent. Instead of bringing up fresh new talent and working with them, they're taking the old talent, trying to rehash them in a new gimmick, and it's not doing one damn thing. Back to you, Will.
All right, Lance, to you. Do you think we'll see Wade Barrett in this gimmick stick? And do you think we'll ever see him back in the WWE? Or do you think that this is pretty much it for him?
Well, probably with it sticking, probably not. Considering I think with what they're doing to him, basically they're just putting a bunch of gimmicks in a hat and pulling one out and say, "Here you go be this." And well, whether we'll see him back in the WWE again, yeah, but it won't be on TV unless you can consider Superstars or NXT WWE TV. And if he's having visa trouble, maybe he should switch to MasterCard.
Or American Express.
Yeah.
All right, Rick. If you want, we can catch you up. Oh well.
Yeah, I'm here. Well, I can just chime in on this subject. We can move from there. Bad news, Barrett. The gimmick, I don't really think it's that much of a gimmick change, so to speak, or so much as like a rebranding as what they're doing with several other characters. I mean, we have, Michael McGillicuddy, and now they rebranded him as Axel, Curtis Axel, which I think is totally different. I don't see it as much of a gimmick, but we really haven't seen his gimmick to really make the judgment call. So, yeah, he just calls himself Bad News Barrett, but he's still Wade Barrett, so, it's rehashed a little bit. Will it work? Yeah, time will only tell, because that's the WWE, and they kind of want to, like you said, like Joe said, excuse me, it's like you want to plug him on one thing and want to plug him on another thing. It's kind of like Mr. Potato Head. And that's what it is. It's a gimmick. It's like, okay, well, this gimmick doesn't work. I'll plop that in on him and see what works.
Let's hope they don't pop something else on and put it back in. Ew, Lorena Bobbitt there.
He went there.
Yes, he did. All right, Rick, we'll catch you up on what we're talking about. We were talking about CM Punk and Daniel Bryan now tag team against the Wyatts, and Joe was talking about that Vince McMahon is trying to go larger than life by pushing the low-weighted guys out the way as of late. So my question to you, to catch you up, is now that we got two former champions going up against talent that are being pushed, is Vince's motto larger than life gonna stick, or is he just feeding Punk and Bryan down the gutter?
I don't think he's really feeding him down the gutter, so to speak. I think what he's doing at the time, it sounds like he doesn't really know what to do with them, so maybe he's trying to even help out like the Wyatts, because the Wyatts, especially, I'm not really talking about Bray Wyatt, because we all know how we feel about Bray Wyatt, but more of the tag teams that's been really pushing. He's trying to push them a little bit up the ranks. So if you rub them up against Punk and Bryan, it's going to move them up the ranks. And I think that's the idea behind it. So I don't think you're going to see this tag team around. Probably, I'll say a little bit past Survivor Series, maybe even till a Royal Rumble. But after that, these guys kind of split up. They're not going to be a long tag team.
All right.
That's going to be it.
All right, cool. And the next topic, while we were talking about while you were gone, was now that Big Show has the world's largest lawsuit down because they settled with him, so WWE has the reputation of all these lawsuits. Now he gets his title match with Orton at Survivor Series. And what me and Joe were debating was, Big Show, it's his first attempt for the WWE title. It's not like he had many attempts for the World Heavyweight title. we're going back and forth about basically, is this the right time for Big Show to get a title match, or is this just a waste of ratings? What do you think about this match now signed on for Survivor Series?
What do I think about it, or do I think he's going to win? I think it's obviously they knew that the kind of the Brian Orton thing was probably, at least in their eyes, was probably getting old. So they said, okay, well, we have to do something else. Obviously, Big Show was the obvious next choice because he was fighting the powers to be, and of course Orton, who was a champion, was in the way, so he kept on getting knocked out. So it makes sense to give him the title. If you had given Brian the title at the time, who was he going to face? So Orton is now in Triple H's corner, so it makes sense for all of this to be the way it's going to be. Do I think he's going to get the title? No, not at all. Not for a second. I think this is going to go past Survivor Series, maybe even to like the mid pay per view, because they have a little middle pay per view in between, and that'll be it.
Very well said. Now that we got the Shining Star cut up, now we're going to kick the other half of the show to Lance. He has some topics that he's going to share with us. Lance, I'm going to kick it to you with yours.
Okay, so basically, we all know that Rey Mysterio's been out of action for quite some time, almost up to a year. My question is, will we ever see him return to the ring?
Do I need to start again?
Sure.
All right, I'll start it off. Okay, and I'm going to say this respectively. Rey, you had so many injuries with your knees and your legs. You're almost pushing 40. I admire what you've done for the business. You had titles and titles galore. You gave us good things to watch when you debuted in ECW, WCW, and WWE. Now, I don't want you to be injured in the ring, because we all know injuries could happen just like that. And it's very frightening to watch from the naked eye. We all remember Darren Drozloff and what happened to him. Poor guy. Good worker. And we're not going to talk about what happened to Sid Vicious in WCW. That was gruesome. But truthfully, all BS aside, you're pushing 40. I think there's nothing else for you to prove. I know probably Joe, Rick, or you, Lance, will probably disagree, and that's fine. It's all healthy banter here. I'm just thinking you're pushing 40. You had your runs. You had titles galore. But I just think it's time for you to hang it up. You got nothing else to prove. You don't want to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. If you were to have that one more run and you get injured, you're gonna live with some regret. I mean, there's nothing wrong retiring and still having your legs. But I just don't want to see you injured in the ring. Maybe go be a trainer at the Performance Center in Orlando. Give them some of your knowledge of what you know. Or become a Spanish commentator with those guys. I don't really pay attention to the names, for every pay-per-view we watch, but I just don't want to see you injured. I don't know. Joe, I'll give it to you. You probably have a different thought, but go ahead.
No, actually, I agree with you. I've seen Ray's career go from Mexico up to the ECW, where he was he had incredible matches with Psychosis, to go to WCW with his legendary matches with Eddie Guerrero, another great, guy who, sorry to say, is passed on. Chris Benoit, another one, and Dean Malenko. And then to finally see him in WWE, where he won the world title, a cruiserweight winning a world heavyweight title. That's something. Ray has been part of the WWE for so long now. You can even say he's gotten the Sin Cara Senior syndrome, where he's basically injuring himself over and over. Personally, I agree. I think Ray should go work at the Performance Center, help train young people, or even go into the Spanish commentary table and stay there and watch it get broken every now and then, commentate from there. But he should not be wrestling. I think give him one more chance. Let him go into the Royal Rumble in January, and let that be his last hurrah. He doesn't really need to be in WrestleMania. He doesn't really need to be any place else. Let's just give him a shot in the Royal Rumble and phase his career out. Let him do commentary or training. But I think with his injuries, he needs to give it up. Right back to you, dude.
Okay, Rick, your thoughts?
Well, I'm pretty much echoing everything that they've been saying. It's I think he should have retired quite a while ago. He's been out for the better half, if not the majority of 2013. He's even said that he's going to be out until 2014. And what does that say right there? That he needs to retire. I mean, obviously he doesn't want to hear it. I think we've talked about plenty of wrestlers who don't want to retire. They don't want to, hang up their boots. And I think he's just one of those wrestlers that are just one of them that he will never want to retire. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be 45, 50 and won't want to hear it. When the WWE says, look, you're done, he'll be over in the indies or around the other places that'll take him anywhere they can take him, because Rey Mysterio just loves the business too much. And it's a shame, but, his time is come and gone, I think.
Yeah. And my little take on this, I think he should come back just for that small little run to WrestleMania. And I know people say, what's he got to earn? It's kind of out of, as long as his wrestling career has been, let him retire at the grandest stage of them all. Kind of out of a respect thing. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I agree too. Sorry, Rick. Yeah, I think WrestleMania would pretty much say, I love what I done, what I contributed to the business, and if this is the way I'm going to go out with the crowd 60, 70,000 plus saying thank you, Ray, then I think that'd be the best way to say goodbye to WWE.
Okay.
I got to chime in real quick. I have to disagree. Whenever somebody's going to do this one song and they're going to retire, it has to be a key moment. It has to be something that he finishes a feud, he does something spectacular, and he finishes. At this point, Ray has not been used on TV at all. So there's really no need for him to be at WrestleMania. And they stopped doing the concept of Battle Royals, because he could have won a Battle Royal at WrestleMania. That would have meant something. In my opinion, let him finish with Royal Rumble and, move him out from there. Let him have this time off and see what happens. But at Royal Rumble, you're going to see him in it.
Anybody else want to weigh in?
I'm good unless Rick got to say something.
No, I think we've pretty much all said this had to be said on Rey Mysterio, unless
Okay. Well, next one is The Miz. He's recently been doing face to heel promos to lead up to basically the end of his face run, or somehow starting to be a tweener in the eyes of the IWC. Can I get y'all's thoughts? Oh, hell.
I think we just got his thoughts.
I'm going to say this short and sweet. Miz, since you left the real world from MTV, when have you really been relevant? I mean, really? I'll take that from you.
He's been awesome.
He's been boring. Not to throw salt, and really not. But his face run is as stale as Del Rio's run as a face. Both is stale. If you listen to all those crowd reactions, it pretty much answers all of our questions. Not saying that, Miz is bad or not like that. You guys will probably say something different, which is fine. But I just think his face run, stale like Sheamus's a little bit like Del Rio's. I mean, he was better as a heel. He had championships. You see him at his best when he was a heel, when he got those boo reactions. But then again, that's just me. I just think with tweener I would say, okay, we know many wrestlers that have been tweeners, but hasn't worked out. I just think it's a waste of time. But I'm just going to say, go back to heel. You have no business being face. You're not getting the reactions. Like, the only best reaction you got is when you were in the ring with Ric Flair and you adopted his figure 4 leg lock. That's it. What have else you done? That's it.
And hold on, I gotta correct you. And they weren't even going on him. They were more on the Ric Flair. Once he left, the pop left. You know, and I'm sorry, even still, I have to agree with you 110%. Some people just don't deserve to be faces. It doesn't work with them. He should just, I mean, he even has haters love me, and he's a face. You can't have people saying haters love me when you're a face. It just doesn't work. You know, you're supposed to be a heel, and you're supposed to, have that kind of persona and have the haters shirt, and that's when you're supposed to be getting people to hate you. And yeah, even the tweener thing, I have to agree with you. I don't get the tweener thing. I think the best thing for him for his career is probably to be a heel. But actually, if I can do the flip side, if I could be a tweener for a moment, I think right now what he's trying to do is because he's doing hosting a lot of pay-per-views, and I think that's what he's more interested in. He's not really doing a lot of big-time matches. The WWE is probably saying, look, we want you to do these, we want you to host shows. He was doing commentating for a while. Joe, do you see where I'm going at with this?
Yeah, you know what? And again, I have to. When I look at the Miz, that's such missed potential there because they could be doing more with him. And the idea of him flip-flopping back and forth doesn't serve any purpose. In order for you to flip someone from good guy to bad guy, it has to be a reason. Paul Orndorff, when he went from fan favorite to bad guy, he did it for a reason. When Stone Cold was a bad guy, he went to good guy. He did it for a reason. Right now in the current WWE, there's no reason for him to flip back and forth. So, and with once the Miz lost his Ric Flair, he really hasn't done anything. I think what he should be, and I agree with Rick, should be a host. He should be doing those little, segments up in the little booth up there, or doing interview segments. He has he has the voice, he has the gift, the gab, but at this point, Miz is just like every other WWE guy. He's been done to death, and there's nothing else to go on. Right now,
but if I can cut in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's the problem is with The Miz is if you're going to be a host, unfortunately with a host, you can't say, okay, for a second, let's make you a heel. You can't be a heel and then be a host. Because if you're a heel, people are going to be booing you, and you can't boo the host. You got to like the host. And unfortunately, that's the kind of niche in his in the problem. So he's got to, be the good guy. And he's sucking as a bad guy. And that's where it's flooring.
Oh, and the thing is, what is he supposed to do as a bad guy that he was doing any different than a good guy?
He could just get under people's skin as a bad guy. He just knew how to do it. It's just you just knew how to hate him. He didn't, I remember just not liking him because he was just an asshole. And it's just he could just do it. He had that smug attitude that my shit doesn't stink. And when he got beat, I loved it. And when he, you know what I mean? But when he won matches, it was like, it just pissed me off. I mean, when he beat John Cena at WrestleMania, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I was steaming. And that was when he was like one of the biggest heels.
I agree. He's a perfect heel. He's like like I said it on this program before. He is the Roddy Piper of the modern era because he can get under your skin. The problem is, and again I say this, when you switch someone from one role to another, it's for a reason. And unfortunately, there isn't another good guy to complement him as a bad guy. So it's not like he can get under the skin of CM Punk because CM Punk's already embroiled in something else. You can't go to John Cena because John Cena's is holding the world title on SmackDown. There's really, at this point, there's nothing, even if he's the antagonist, who's he going to antagonize? There's no one to antagonize. And that's the problem. It's not a matter of him flipping back and forth. It's a matter of, okay, you turned him bad guy. Now what? Well, who are you going to fight him against? Get a partner, go after the Rhodes. You know, it's the only other person. As funny as this sounds, the only other person he can harass, you could say, is no. I lied. There's two. Big E Langstrom, which we already know Big E's G is the big L instead of Big E. It's Webster on steroids. And then there's Dolph Ziggler. So who else is there for him as a heel to antagonize and make a lengthy program with? No one. And that's the problem.
Well, you said you mentioned a name that got me thinking, who could The Miz team up with? And it kind of fit. Since they're both kind of little on the arrogant side, Ziggler. And they could actually chase the Rhodes brothers. But as this whole, to me, he works better as a heel. Because, honestly, let's be honest, as of late, the Miz TVs have been piss breaks. And, yeah, he just needs to be kind of heel to me. It's just kind of how I see it.
One more thing, Lance, I want to chime about this.
Okay.
If The Miz is going to really recollect himself and be even relevant, as Joe pointed out earlier, then do something that will get the fans' attention instead of your haters love me t-shirt and your $20 haircuts and your cheap pops with Ric Flair, because I don't see this lasting any further than it should. But then again, I mean, when he goes back to heel, then he'll actually mean something. Till then, I'll progress to the nearest porta potty till then.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything else to say?
I think we covered that one. I'm all good on that one.
Okay. Something I recently noticed, the Survivor Series push has been extremely weak, considering it's 2 weeks away. Well, no, basically what I've been seeing, only one match is on the card. A couple are confirmed, but anybody else think this pay-per-view might not live up to the hype of a Survivor Series?
I actually saw, I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw a couple of matches on the card. What match did you see on the card?
Show versus Del Rio.
And there's also a tag team match.
Okay. What's the tag team?
It's Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are going against the Wyatts. That is a confirmed tag team match. WWE.com confirmed it.
A couple of weeks. To me, that's still a little weak. Anybody else?
You know, the tradition of Survivor Series, the 5-on-5 teams, was always a big factor when they first came out, and they did it for a couple of years until they phased it out. What does Survivor Series mean anyway today? It
means nothing.
Exactly.
It's
and
one of
the sad thing
for the big four.
While we're on that, because the sad thing is they had a good setup at the end of Raw for a good 6-on-6. We saw the Shield versus Shield versus the Wyatts. That was a teasing, of course. We knew that wasn't going to happen. And then we had CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, and then the Usos and the Rhodes come in. That could have been a 6-man elimination Survivor Series type match. You could have the Shield and the Usos on one side, and then you could add CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, the Usos, and of course the tag team champions, the Rhodes, all on the other side. Would that not have been a great thing? You had the story lined up right there at the end of Raw.
Yeah.
You had the potential, and again, this is where WWE or Triple H or whoever's running this, fruits and nuts, they have the potential and they blew it because, again, the tradition of the Survival Series, the 5-on-5, as you said, it would have been perfect. The Rhodes, the Usos, and versus the Shield and another person, or the Shield and the Wyatt family. there were so many things you can do with that. That would have been right there the mid-card match that would have stole the show. And again, it just stinks. They don't have any good concepts. You could have had the entire corporation, which was the Shield and Kane versus Big Show and whoever else, and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and another person. But I really, it just boggles me that I think, in all honesty, creative is done in WWE. I think they burned every book they can come up with, every idea, and they don't know what else to follow it up with. And I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll finish here. When Vince McMahon is being challenged, when he was being challenged by WCW, you saw the creative juices flow. You saw the ideas really start to hit. Now that there's no competition, there is no thought for him to do. So.
And you know what? And I also think because he says he's kind of letting Triple H and his daughter Stephanie somewhat take the reins a little bit. I think he's stepping back. I think he's enjoying in semi-retirement. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but I think he's in semi-retirement. Can some people at least agree to that?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not exactly a young bird anymore. What's he, 75, 80?
Well, but the thing is, though, all the ideas still have to be pitched to be approved by him. Because Vince is a creative. No, how can I put it? He is a person that has to be. He's a control freak. He has to have that control.
I don't deny that, and I don't deny he's a creative genius. I don't deny that he's also a control freak. But as you get older, you kind of let that control let go just a little bit, and that creative juices, they start to slip a little bit. People don't want to admit that. But and as long as and I'm sure as long as Stephanie Triple H let him think he has all the control in the world, he has that image, that vision of control. He can sit back and relax because he thinks I'm sure he at the end of the day the buck stops with Vince. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm sure a few other smaller things were before. I mean, he would say he wants to go get every single shot was by Vince. 20 years ago, it was a much crisper, totally different thing because he was on every single Raw. He was on he was doing commentating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What does that say about the business now? So, just a food for thought. Just food for thought. We all get tired. We all get, want to get into semi-retirement and eventually retirement. No matter how much control we are, no much of a control freaks people get, no matter how creative geniuses people are.
Yeah,
time is not on people's side.
Eventually, you're going to see him stream back in because ratings are falling on Raw.
No doubt.
I don't know Paul Levesque well, Triple H, but he hasn't impressed me. He hasn't shown anything. The only thing he's shown me is that he has the gift for gab for bringing people into the company. Bruno Sammartino, possibly Hulk Hogan. Mickey James is she was seen in the performance center training people. He does have that way of bringing people back into the WWE, but as a creative genius, that's a bit of a stretch. So right now, I think like you say, maybe he's in semi-retirement, maybe he's taking it easy and he's kind of relaxing. But once the ratings start dropping, you're going to see Vince back on TV. After all, let's put it like this: Vern Gagne ran the AWA well into his 60s. Jim Crockett was running the NWA in his later years too. So who knows? Maybe Vince is just taking some time off.
And again, yeah, and like I said, he could be just taking some time off. But I still think, I think he's really enjoying his golden years. But like I said, when he sees the ratings drop, he could very well jump back in, no doubt. I don't doubt that for a second. Anybody else want to put their 2 cents in?
I'm back. Basically, as I was having my thoughts in the second favorite room of the house, just basically to answer Lance's question before we go to the final segment of the show. I mean, Lance, you're absolutely right. I mean, the push for Survivor Series' card has been optically weak. We could have seen possibly the best Survivor Series match in all of WWE history. But what are they doing? Throwing it down the toilet as I was earlier. So, I mean, right now, will I watch it? I don't know. But I just hope at least the traditional Survivor Series matches will be on the card as opposed to Cena and Del Rio, Big Show and Orton, IWC marks going off and on, blah, blah, why is this match hasn't lived up to our standards? Oh, brother. So, there you go. Other than that, of course I'll watch, but I hope it lives up to it, and I hope to see some better matches than the ones I'm looking at right now.
Okay, time for the
Go
final.
ahead, Lance. Go ahead.
If nobody else has anything else to say on the last topic.
Nope.
Here.
Not a damn thing.
All right. Time for some scandals.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
First one involves Randy Savage and Stephanie McMahon. Now, this is just something I've been hearing, possibly, that basically Stephanie had some of Randy Savage's Slim Jim, if y'all know what I'm saying.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Stephanie, yeah, dig it. What do y'all think?
Wow.
Wow.
If I could start that off,
Go ahead.
there's been so much of that rumors going around that he that the Macho Man actually had a thing, did something with an underage Stephanie. This has been circulating for some time, and actually his brother, his Lanny Poffo, when they asked him the question, he gave a big smirk, and he said, well, the only person that can really answer that was Randy himself. But he kind of gave that little smirk like he knows something. So, did he? I don't know how old Stephanie would have been at that time. She didn't get her boob jobs until well into the 90s. So, it's something that's been voiced around so much. Lanny, I think I know something, but he doesn't want to say, in respect to his brother. And unless we can get Andy in here to do a stalked haunted seance and bring the Macho Man back and ask him the question, we will never know.
All right. I guess I'll go next on this one. You know what, Lance? I don't know nothing about this scandal. I was probably too young to not remember this. But the only thing I can say is, Macho Man, I know you're up with God up in heaven. You gave everybody the elbow, so rest in peace. I did not know that this was going on. This is the first I ever heard about this. And would Savage do something like that? We will never know. Like Joe says, we'll never know. I mean, I know Stephanie McMahon had to be very, very young around this time. But only one would know. We weren't there. So I can't really contribute much. Rick, what do you think?
Again, I'm not sure how old she was. Again, yeah, this is really interesting. A rumor. I don't know how old. Yeah, exactly. This could have been a lot of rumors. I guess, and Bob Holly addressed the rumor in his book, and he said something like, "All I'll have to say is that Savage was quote unquote very friendly to her." Now that could mean anything. Do I think he did? It's kind of hard. I mean, why? If for a second, if Vince even thought that a man touched your underage daughter, do you think he would have him, in the Hall of Fame or even in any of his products afterwards? Be honest, guys, because I'd be like, hell no.
And another thing too is at that time, Randy was married to Elizabeth. So
Yeah, I think this is rumors run amok. He could have been just very nice to her because hey, it's the boss's daughter. Be really nice to her, and do I think he's like that? Absolutely not. I mean, it's just where this rumor came out from or where it started from. Who knows? And it's definitely. I'd like to know who started it, or who. You know what I mean? I mean, Savage was a well-liked guy from his peers. He never, obviously, this is the only person that heard from it. It never came from anybody else or any other. We never heard any other charges or of anything else. So, let's put this stupid thing to rest. 'Cause I don't buy it.
Sorry, Joe.
If I can add one more thing, I wish I had the power. I wish I had a crystal ball. Because think of it, wrestling sucks down here, but in heaven, they have all the best workers up there. Man, would I love to see those matches up there.
So the second one of the night involves another one of Vince's kids. And no, I'm not talking about Hornswoggle. It's the departure from the WWE of Shane McMahon. Why did he really leave?
Oh, wow. Wow, good one. I don't know. I don't think nobody here really knows what really happened. I mean, it was a shock that he left. I mean, I thought he would blend in well with the company, take over when Vince decides to, quote unquote, pass the business to his children. But knowing Vince, that wouldn't happen. But to be truthful with you, Lance, I don't even think all of us here know why he really left. I mean, when I first heard about it, I was in shock. That's all I could say. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm gonna pull a Welcome Back Kotter flashback. I'm gonna do a horse shack. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I exactly. There was something that came out. What happened? Technically, Shane was supposed to take over the WWE, but then Triple H came in and banged the right rear end, and not Vince's, but his daughters. And he walked into the business, and it's public knowledge, even though it's knowledge out there if you look it up, where Shane was really upset over this because Triple H is making sure Stephanie keeps popping out those grandkids for Vince, that Stephanie and Triple H became the favorite. I think over the situation with what was happening and other little topics that was happening within WWE, Shane left. And Shane left to go do work with some MMA company, and I forgot if it was the UFC or so. I know he was with Dana White working on a couple of things, then he moved on to something else. But Shane was really upset that they couldn't even be in the same room with Triple H, Stephanie, and Vince. So there was a rare picture that they just happened recently that they had Triple H and Vince in the same room with Shane. And even the quote underneath this, it was a strained meeting, a gathering, really, a family gathering. But Shane leaving was because mostly Stephanie and Triple H took over the spot, which was his. And, Shane was a fan of ECW. He was a fan of smaller wrestling. So he was, I think he was also kind of upset with what Vince did with ECW and with WCW. So I guess that's another reason he left. But yeah, he left on very bad terms with them, and at least in the business sense, not in slightly personal sense. Rick, have you heard about this too?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Again, just like you said, it was Triple H pretty much sliding in and pretty much taking his spot. And Triple H made it clear from long before he started dating Stephanie that he was going to take over, the WWE. There was one of his documentaries that he looked at the WWE tower, and he said, building. He said, you know what? One of these days, all this is going to be mine. And look where he is now. That's not a joke. Yeah, everybody thought, that was just him being, a DX line, but it wasn't a line. That's when he was with China, and he knew that he was gonna own it. He knew that somehow he was gonna get into Stephanie, and he was gonna stop popping out kids, and that was it. Because at the end of the day, Vince wants an heir to the throne, and whoever got the first heir to the throne wins. And Stephanie, of course, won that race.
Oh, Triple H said, "Hey, it's a Raw GM contacting us."
I want to say something.
Go ahead.
Hi everybody.
Welcome to the show, James.
I kind of remember something from WrestleMania 20. That was like the opening, because I thought Shane McMahon had a grandchild first before Stephanie did, because they had it in the opening. It was basically Vince, Shane, and I guess his kid in that opening. It had to be something different. It's just a matchup for me.
That's something I guess we'll have to look up.
There was some rumors about him possibly coming back for WrestleMania 30, but do you guys even see that possibly happening?
Yeah. Well, like a one-night deal, maybe. Because it's 30.
Yeah. I would like to see us possibly even have Vince bring him back. It would be a great storyline to have Vince come back and say, well, you know what, you guys are out of control. It's time we bring back somebody else who has control. And who would that be? And, of course, that'd be bring back Shane. I don't see it happening, but I think it would have been a great storyline. What do you think about that for a storyline, Joe?
It would be a great storyline. Like, all of a sudden, he comes out and he does, a real big, how can I put it? Geez, because this, you know what? The situation with Shane and Triple H, they're not on good terms. So maybe Triple H can sweet talk him to come back. But to think about it, that, if Shane did come back, again, it will have to be for a reason. He will have to be like Vince says, well, the $1 billion princess and the slow-headed caveman is trying to take over the company and kick me out. I need someone to back me. And they bring in Shane McMahon. But then, I can see Shane aligning himself with the Big Show, with Punk, Daniels, and doing a big storyline. But again, that's me thinking that type of mentality and creative. I don't know. I don't see, I don't see it ever happening. I think that they're so divided that you will not see him back on. But again, in wrestling, never say never.
All right. Anybody else wish to?
Well, we just got a little bit of a tidbit from our Twitter god James that Shane was well known for many of things, but we can address it right now because he's not here with us. But we wish he's watching somewhere. But pretty much, like Joe said, I mean, if he comes back, the sweet talk from Triple H and everything. I mean, Shane is WWE. He needs to come back. I mean, I can't see him doing anything else, but, I mean, that's just my opinion.
All right, well, that's going to wrap things up. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at Hardcore Wrestling Radio. I'd like to thank Will, of course, for opening the show up and taking on the reins while I was away. Will, where can we find you at?
You guys can find me always on our page, Boss, at Hardcore Wrestling Radio on Facebook, and also filling in some work on WGS TV for the Wrestle Gamer Billy. I hope he's doing okay, and give him the best of wishes and hope we hear or see from him again soon.
Yeah, indeed. And that WGS TV page is facebook.com/WGSTV. And, of course, you can also check out his YouTube page. That's youtube.com/TheWrestleGamer. And, Joe, as always, thank you for joining us. Where can we find you at?
Well, you can find me on ClassicWrestlingAssociation.com. You can also find us on Facebook, also Classic Wrestling Association. You can also find us now on Twitter, which is Pro Wrestling CWA. And at the same time, I want to do a little shout-out here. We are having our December 21st show, our Toys for Tots charity show in Paterson, New Jersey, in the CWA Arena. You can find us. You can find the information on our website again, ClassicWrestlingAssociation.com. It's basically a charity, folks. $10 for a person without a gift, or it's $5 with an unwrapped gift. So let's make a child happy this Christmas, and let's support our Toys for Tots show.
All right. And, Lance, where can everyone find you at?
YouTube.com/LanceMossTV. I do album reviews, NASCAR reviews, a little bit of wrestling reviews, cooking videos, Q&As when I get them, and whatever else pops in my head.
All right. And James, he's not here, but I want to thank James, of course, as always, for coming on.
Here.
Oh, you are here. James, all right. Thanks for coming on.
Late.
Where can we find you at?
Late!
I'm sorry if I had to hang out with people. Well, I tell you the story after this, MVP.
Who was hanging out with the homeless guy?
Shut up, Lance! To find me, I'm gonna be on the HWR page. We'll be doing the Women Wrestler /Diva /Knockout of the Day on the Facebook page.
All right. And if you want to find that HWR Facebook page, just check us out at facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. And as always, check us out for all of our shows, whether it's this show or our In the Moment shows, on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/HWR show. So for everyone here, I'm the Shining Star, Rick Starr, saying we'll see you when we see you. Thank you for listening to this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Be sure to follow us on our pages, facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio and Spreaker.com/HWR Media, and also on youtube.com/HWR Show. Until the next time, this is Rick Starr saying see you when we see you.